Okay, hello again. I hope you hear me now. So, sorry we had some technical issues. That is the bad news. The good news is that technology is here, so we can fix it. As long as we can fix it, everything is okay. So, we're going to start once again. Welcome to the Simplify webinar, which is related to AI management systems or ISO 42001, which is actually a brand new standard that was live in December last year. So today we are going to deep dive into the topic of AI management system. We're going to see examples of the standard requirements, examples of the controls, and the methodology we use actually for implementation of management systems. I will try to be faster as we had these technical issues, so to leave some time for Q&A session, because I believe you planned to finish this in 4 o'clock, so you can continue with other things that you had today. We will start with actually the progression of AI, and here we can see the most popular tool now, the ChatGPT, and the development of it through like last 5 or 6 years, and it's kind of be really rapid. We actually don't know what the new version will bring. What we know now is that ChatGPT can generate code, can do a lot of things that are like unimaginable a few years ago, and the new version is really kind of looking into these management systems and the UA Act that we have at the moment in trying to improve what is actually the fact and what is not true, and trying to tackle the ethical challenge and what we are having as an ethical problems in using ChatGPT. What is there to expect and what we actually don't know is something we call the AI singularity. So what we expect is that actually the artificial intelligence will suppress the human intelligence. Even the human intelligence will also grow in the future, but at some moment of time, if the development continue in this way, we are expecting that AI will surely be smarter than we are, and we will see what unpredictable things are going to happen. And what is actually there is a concern is how we are managing and what frameworks we use in actually having the AI as we want as a humans. What we can say right now by using AI so far, where we had experience, is actually that using a Gen AI is predicted in 2026, like that 30% of the workers will actually leverage on digital technology, and they actually can be smarter than they are. They can actually have some skills that were unattainable like a few years ago. So, for example, I wanted to learn German, but I could never do this, or I wanted to learn Chinese. I couldn't do this. By using the AI, I can actually write in emails, I can speak in German, I can understand German, I can read actually the German books. And this is something that, like in my lifetime, I could not be ready to do without AI. So we think that like using AI in that segment will actually make us humans better than we really are. Of course, that will raise some new threats about responsibilities, communication, and a lot of work for cybersecurity people and people who are there to protect us from all kinds of frauds and everything that we also see right now that is happening on the market. Also, because we are deep into the automation, by using AI, we can actually do the cognitive automation. This is something that you can see right now when we are talking with some chatbot, that he's actually understand what you're saying. When you're sending some kind of unstructured email, that somebody is responding you. Everything inside the automation in marketing and sales is predicted, and it will be AI driven. Also, what we are expecting and what we are actually developing our processes now is personalized customer experience. And in a few years, we are expecting that actually all the marketing, all the sales, everything around one company will be totally personalized to you, like understanding what you actually want and actually giving you what you want. Like having this all in mind, we really need to take some kind of framework for managing everything we have in AI. So What we have here is that we are trying to address these concerns that we have about privacy, about potential biases, about safety, security, inequality, and how the business today can actually leverage on AI and not have all of these concerns in mind. So, as every other international and ISO standard, this is one example that is globally recognized and is actually live now, so we can implement it and try to framework our business in a way that, as far as we know at the moment. These international standards is actually can be used in any kind of organization, not just in organizations that are developing AI system, but also in organizations that are using any kind of AI system for their daily work. And like for the future development, all the ideas, goals they have, if they are going to use any kind of AI in their business, this international standard is fully applicable. So it's going to bring a framework for managing risks as opportunities. This standard is also risk-based standard as 9001 and 27001, and all the other standards that are live today are actually risk-based standards. By implementing this standard, you should demonstrate that you are using AI responsibly, and it will provide you traceability and transparency. And the transparency is one of the most important things if we are looking into legislative and what is there in a law perspective, especially in the EU and potentially with all the companies that are dealing and having the business in Europe. Why is this important to understand and to implement? First of all, we have few things around life cycle of using AI systems. So when you actually deploy the AI system, it has some lifetime and it has some future development that you are going to bring live in a future. So through all of that life cycle, we need to actually build a framework that is responsible where and how we are designing and how we are developing the AI system. Data for AI system is one of the most important things. We are going to tackle this in a requirement session, and actually using of AI system and third-party and customer relationship and everything that we have around the system, that is for most of the organization a brand new thing. So this is something that we so far didn't have experience with, and we need some kind of framework to guide us. What can be a benefits? First of all, we at the moment don't know, is this going to be obligatory standard or the companies can or cannot use it. But what we know so far is that AU Act is actually having incorporated almost all of these requirements. So like in the future, and we should actually be using AU Act in 2026. So we have like 2 years in adapting to it. So actually from 2026, I think this standard for every company that is actually using AI or it's developing or designing AI will be mandatory standard if you want to actually do a business in Europe. So if we look at the structure of the standard, it is mainly Annex SL. So like everything that we have in all the other standards, we have totally of 36 clauses, and it's also divided in the typical structure that is starting with the context of the organization, leadership planning, support operation, performance evaluation, and of course, improvement. So there is nothing new in this part. And of course, it is made that can be easily integrated with all other management systems that you already have in your company, especially ISO 27001, which is totally complementary regarding the new version of 2022, bringing to the table cybersecurity as the most important part for aligning these two standards. What is new here is that we have inside the standard supporting system, that is Annex A and Annex B. The difference is that in Annex A, for example, in 27001, you have controls, but you don't have the guidelines of how to implement it. Here in this document, you can see the integration of the controls and the guidelines, which are actually presented from 8.2 to 8.10.4, and corresponding with the guidelines of how you should implement the controls, which are actually the most important part of this standard. Because if you look at the standard clauses, it's mainly what we have seen so far in every other management system. But what is different and what is new is actually supporting system or Annex A or Annex B. So let us look at some of the requirements and what is there in 40,001. Especially we have extract some of them that are totally in line with AI and that we didn't see before in any other management system. So 6.14 is AI system impact assessment. As we said, that this standard is a risk-based standard. So related to our risk, we need to do impact assessment, and we need to bring it live or available to any relevant interested party that is defined by organization. This impact assessment is actually based on risk, as I already said, and it can pretty much determine the potential consequences of using the AI system when it will be deployed. So this, for me, this is one of the most important clauses of this standard, and if it's totally related to 8.4 in operation, where the standard is actually telling us that we shall perform AI system impact analysis and that it should be documented. Of course, the document, the information should be maintained, and we need to see here all the results of AI system assessments. The next thing that we consider very important is 8.2, and that is AI risk assessment. It is very similar or almost the same as the clauses in 27,000 or 9,000 or 40,000. Actually identifies that you need to perform the risk assessment, you need to align your risk assessment with your policy, you need to actually identify risk and to evaluate the risk. There is no defined methodology on how you're going to do this. So actually you should use the same methodology for risk assessment that you are using for other management systems. When you perform the risk assessment, then the next clause is telling you that you should actually implement the AI risk treatment, and there must be and shall be a plan for the risk treatment according to 6.13, that is actually telling you that you should actually verify effectiveness of the risk treatment that you put in a documentation. So it's basically telling us that when we identify the risks that we have, we need to have the treatment for that risk, and we need to test this and to evaluate, did we solve all the risks that we have? If we are okay and if we lower down or mitigate our risk, we can move forward. What is also important for the companies that are actually developing and deploying AI systems, they need to do this in the design phase. And for the companies that are using AI systems, they need to actually do the risk treatment when deploying the AI system inside their organization and when they are actually starting to use it. Of course, you should actually acquire documentation from the company that is providing you any kind of AI system, even if this is software or if this is a part of the product that you have that is connected with the software. Of course, like for any other management system, you should retain documented information, and you should have results about all the risk treatments that you have inside the organization through the lifetime of using the AI system. When it comes to controls, what we put here is actually in one place we put the control. So, for example, we have this A3 internal organization. We have put also the guidelines and connected them together so you can understand the whole picture at once. First topic that we are talking about here are roles and responsibilities. As for every other management system, you should clearly define the roles and responsibilities for the people or for the humans that are actually using the AI systems. Of course, it needs to be aligned with what you already have. So you should use the same methodology and same approach that you have for every other system in your organization. But you should especially understand the risk management and how the risks are related to the humans that are going to have the new roles and new responsibilities inside the organization because of the usage of AI system. The next topic we have here is 833 is reporting of concerns, and standard actually in control requires that every company should have a process to report concerns. We see here a potential risk because the similar or same clause we have in 27001, and through our practice we have saw that this is not so well implemented inside the organization because people and employees tend to forget that they need to report any kind of breaches or any kind of concerns to the people who are responsible of dealing with it. So usually we get some email that we don't know where it's from, it's maybe potential threat, but we just delete it and don't report it. So that is what is happening, for example, in companies that are using 27001. Here, we also need to actually educate the employees that every potential concern that they have, or it may come from any stakeholder, internal or external, you should report this to the person who is responsible for the usage of AI and deploying it in the public. When it comes to AI6, AI system lifecycle, the organization should define objectives for responsible development of AI system. Those objectives, first of all, should be in align with the company strategy and with the objectives that you already have, and you should actually reconsider all the objectives that you have that are mainly for 3 or 5 years that can be affected by using of AI. So like all the new objectives that you have inside the company, you should actually look through the AI glasses and understand how the AI will affect those and what are you going to do about it. Like for every other objective, you need to measure them, you need to evaluate them, and to see are you effective or you're not effective in achieving the objectives that you set. The next topic is AI system requirement and specification. Here, what we consider important is that we need to understand and we need to define why the AI system is to be developed, why we need it, and why we're going to use it. We need to have either a business case or customer request or government policy or something that we want actually to build and to earn money or to do something else, but it needs to be stated and we need to have a clear understanding of why we are using AI system. Second thing is that we need to explain how the model will be trained, how data requirements can be achieved, how we're going to use those data, how we're going to train the data, and how actually we are going to build a model that we're going to deploy and to put it on the market. About the technical documentation, that is A627, here we need to do something that we haven't seen a lot in IT companies and companies who are developing AI, is that we need actually to document, and the documentation should and must include usage instructions, technical limitation, monitoring capabilities, and all the other things. So we need to have a clear documentation of what we did, how this is going to be used, and what we are going to do if something goes wrong. And those documentation all need to be monitored, and we need to update it and have it. Of course, transparency is there to be implemented so that every stakeholder who is interested can look at the documentation and give opinion and understand what are you actually doing inside your own company. The next topic, and maybe the most important topic in this standard, is data. So 7.2 is about the data for the development and enhancement of AI system. The control says that the organization shall define, document, and implement data for whatever system process of developing the AI system. What is there in the guidelines? So we need to address the privacy and security implications of the data that we are using. We need to understand security and safety threats, also of the data that we are using. Transparency of the data, so we need to have transparency of all the data we have, and we need to see how we're going to train the data and what is the representative scope of what we have in the data that we have. Integrity of the data is something that is very important, especially for potential biases and for potential threats that we have when we are using the data that is not good, that is may tell us something that is not true, and we are going to use and learn AI in the wrong data, then the whole model will actually work very wrong, and it will going to bring some results and make some decisions that are based on the data that is not good. What we've seen so far in most of the companies that we work with is the data they have is actually not good for the AI development. So because nobody have ever stored the data for the potential AI development, they store the data for their purposes and what they need for any kind of reporting or to understanding where the business is. But very little percentage of the company is storing at the moment and has been storing the data for the usage of AI. So the first thing, if we are talking about AI, is to look at the data and to understand, do we have the data who is capable of bringing us the AI system. The next topic is about acquisition of data. That's actually what I've been talking about. So we need to ensure the quality of the data and can it be used for the development of and operate the AI system. So we need to have the different categories of data. And one thing that it's important in these guidelines, we need to understand the data rights and who has the rights for those data and how we can and should we use them at all. The quality of the data for AI system is the next topic and next control. So we need to understand and we need to actually we need to understand how we are developing and operating AI system with the potential of impact on validating the outputs that we have. So in a nutshell, any AI system will give us some outputs that we are going to use in the next process. If the data and the quality of the data is not good, we will have very bad impact on everything that we are doing. So the validation of the data and everything around this is very important for this management system. At the end, we have a point 9, it's use of AI system. So there needs to be a process in place for responsible usage of AI systems. So actually we need to determine whatever to use a particular AI system, we need to have required all the approvals to put it live, like calculate all the costs and approve sourcing requirements and especially the legal requirements. For the legal requirements, we have national legal requirement, we have international legal requirement, and what is very important here, we need to consider the EU directives and the EU Act regarding to all legal requirements that are there for our industry and for horizontal for all the companies in the market. As this standard can be implemented by any company, so we need to take into the account all the legal requirements that we have, and it's quite there, and it's not so easy. So this control for us is something that is very hard to get, and you need to work a lot in order to understand all the legal implications that your AI system we are going to should be like aligned with. Based like what we actually build for AI management system is we a little bit redefined our simplified methodology as like to bring from as is to be stage. First, we need to understand the scope of work, and we are starting with defining objectives and requirements for AI management system. After this, we are moving into the gap analysis to understand like what requirements are already in place. is the company already aligned with those requirements, and where are the gaps that we should work on in order to comply our organization practices with this international standard. Of course, as this is a brand new standard, there are going to be a lot of activities to be made, and we need to have roadmap for implementation of those activities. After the implementation, we are performing internal audit, and after internal audit, we are going into the application of it, and of course, continuous improvement, as this is a requirement of this international standard also. Also, what we have here is that ISO has bring 4 new international standards that can help us in understanding and implementing this standard. One is related to the risk management and guidance on risk management, as this is the most important topic of this international standard. Second one is related to the AI applications. And we have 2 more. One is related to the governance of the intelligence of organization. And the last one, and one that is also related to other international standard, is about the cybersecurity and security threats and failures in using AI systems. So, like when you start the implementation of 42001, you should consider these 4 international standards as a supportive system that can help you implement all the requirements that you have. What is also very important is this AI Act, which is actually one of the few legal requirements that we have at the moment on the market, because it's live and it's going to be mandatory from 2026. As I said, if you want to work in EU, you need to align with this act. So, summary of it, because we are going to have like a new webinar just related for this act, is that like it's also the risk-based act. So, dependence of the risk of what are you actually doing, you're going to be divided in 4 types. One is unacceptable risks. For those unacceptable risks, you actually cannot use your system inside European Union. For the limited risk, high risk and minimal risk, you can use them. But for high risk, you will need monitoring. You will need to have like critical infrastructure. You will need to set the risk assessment, the impact assessment, and everything else. And for the limited and minimal risk, of course, you will need to actually align with the structure of this act and use your AI system on the market. What is very important is this act is totally aligned with this management system. So if you implement 42001 standard, you will be like 80 or 85% aligned with this legal requirement. And then you need to understand the specific of your industry, of national legislative, and of the directives that are related to your product or to your service in order to be fully compliant with this act. Same as GDPR, we have here the potential risk of not implementing and not aligning with this act, because like the fine for this is 7% of your annual revenue, or 35 million euros, whatever is bigger. So it's kind of big fine if you are not implementing and aligning your business with this legal requirement of EU. Benefits of implementation, as pretty much the same as for this management system, is that it's giving you like a clear framework, role identification, risk assessment that like every standard is based on, and regulatory compliance, so that you can actually work in the European Union, that is bringing this in order to diversify itself from the USA and from the China, who are currently leading on the market when it comes to implementation, design, and development of AI. So this will be it for today. I tried to finish by 4, so I did it. I will be available for any questions, comments, or anything else. Like what we are going to have in future is we are going to actually have one training where we are going to tackle all the controls and all the requirements of these international standards with examples of implementation. The next thing we are going to do is explaining a little bit better the EU Act and how it's connected to this international standard and what companies need to do by 2026. And in the future, we are going to combine 27001 with this standard in order to have all the connections and how companies should be prepared for this international standard and actually the using of AI. What we are seeing so far is that 40 or 50% of the companies on our market is already using some kind of AI tools. Maybe they don't know it, but they are actually using it. So we need to prepare and we need to have at the start the gap analysis and the risk assessment in order to understand where we are in this matrix and is this something that is like minimal, low risk, or it's maybe high risk on our or unacceptable risk, and that what are the measures that we need to take. Like for every company that is in education industry, for example, they will be in high risks. So whatever you do, if you are in educational business, this is something that you need to be aware of and need to prepare yourself for ACT and for the standard requirements. I will wait for questions or comments.